Good evening. Welcome to the special Troy City Council. It is May 23rd, and I'm Marty Baker, President of Council. Please silence your electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Twist? Mrs. Oda? Here. Mr. Heath?
Here.
Mr. Kendall?
Here.
Mr. Swayzer?
Here.
Mrs. Sneed?
Here.
Mr. Tremblay?
Here.
Mr. Twilliger?
I move we excuse Mr. Twilliger.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kendall and seconded by Mr. Tremblay to excuse Mr. Terwilliger. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swayzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes. Move we
Twilliger is
excuse Mr.
excused.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kendall and seconded by Mr. Swayzer to excuse Mr. Twist. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swayzer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Twist is excused.
Mrs. Knight, please read the notice of special meeting of Troy City Council.
Notice a special meeting of the City Council addressed to members of City Council. You are hereby notified that there will be a special meeting of the City Council of the City of Troy, Ohio, at the Council Chambers in said city on Monday, the 23rd day of May, 2016, at 7:45 p.m. for the purpose of considering R27 2016 participate in ODOT salt purchase emergency legislation. Ordinance numbers O28 2016 rezone part of Inlot 39 from B2 to R5. O29 2016 rezone Inlot 8661 from M2 to OR1. O30 2016 right-of-way dedication part of Inlot 7099 and 7100. And O31 2016 right-of-way dedication part of Inlot 6384. This meeting is called by Council President Baker pursuant to Rule 25 of the Troy City Council Rules of Procedure. I will now pass this around to be signed, and it was duly delivered to all members of council.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. The Finance Committee has one report from Chairman Mr. Tom Kendall.
Thank you, Madam President. This report regards ODOT cooperative purchase for road salt. On May 17th, committee members Swayzer and Kendall met to consider authorizing the city to participate in both the bids of the Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for road salt. To be included, specific legislation must be enacted and presented to ODOT no later than May 26th, so that ODOT is aware of the quantities to be included in this bid. The city would also continue to be a part of the road salt bid with other communities through the purchasing organization known as SWOP4G. Recommendation. It is a recommendation of this committee that legislation be prepared authorizing the City of Troy to participate in the ODOT Cooperative Purchasing Program for the purchase of road salt. In that the data to be included in the ODOT program is prior to the regular June 6th meeting of Council, we recommend that a special meeting of Council be scheduled to consider this item as emergency legislation. And this is respectfully submitted by Mr. Swayzer, Mr. Tremblay, and myself as chairperson.
Are there any questions from council on the report? Thank you, Mr. Kendall.
Thank you.
The Law and Ordinance Committee has two reports this evening and a liquor license application, I believe.
Which would you like first?
Just start with your committee reports, please.
Earlier this evening, this committee met to the special meeting to provide a recommendation to council regarding O28-2016 rezoning of Inlot 39 from B2 to R5, and committee recommends O28-2016 be approved.
Are there any questions from council? You may continue.
Committee met prior to the special meeting to provide a recommendation to council regarding O29-2016 rezoning of part of Inlot 8661 from M2 to OR1, and committee recommends OR 29-2016 be approved.
Again, are there any questions from council? Please continue.
Yes, ma'am. The Ohio Division of Liquor Control has transmitted the notice of application for a new D5F permit for Smith's Boathouse, say that again, Smith's Boathouse Marina Building at Treasure Island Park, which is for a marina restaurant only and allows for spirituous liquor for on-premise consumption only, beer, wine, and mixed beverages for on-premises or off-premises in original sealed containers until 2:30 a.m. There is no basis for objection to this license.
Thank you. We'll move on to resolutions and ask Mrs. Knight to read Resolution R27, 2016. And if you will, please note in the minutes that Mr. Twist is now present.
Yes. Resolution number R27, 2016, resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT winter contract 018-17 for road salt and declaring an emergency. This will authorize the City of Troy to be part of the ODOT bid for up to 600 tons of salt. The emergency legislation is required because ODOT needs to know the participation quantities prior to the next council meeting, first reading.
Are there any questions or comments from council?
Move for suspension.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Kendall and seconded by Mrs. Sneed to suspend the rules. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes. Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Schweizer and seconded by Mr. Tremblay to adopt the resolution. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
The resolution is adopted.
We'll move on to ordinances and ask Mrs. Knight to read ordinance 028, 2016.
Ordinance number 028, 2016, ordinance changing the zoning of part of Inlot 39, parcel number D08001170 in the city of Troy, Ohio, from B2 General Business District to R5 Single Family Residence District. This is the location of 16 South Short Street, has been recommended by the Troy Planning Commission, and the committee met this evening and has made an oral report recommending approval. Third reading.
Are there any questions from council?
Move for suspension.
We'll just need an
I'm
adoption.
sorry, you're right. There.
Go ahead.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Schweizer to adopt the ordinance. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted.
Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance 029, 2016.
Ordinance number 029, 2016. Ordinance changing the zoning of in-lot 8661, parcel number D08103276 in the city of Troy, Ohio, from M2 Light Industrial District to OR1 Office Residential District. This is located at 532 Grant Street. The Troy Planning Commission has recommended approval. The Law and Ordinance Committee met this evening and made an oral report recommending the ordinance be approved. This is the third reading.
Are there any comments or questions from council?
I move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Tremblay and seconded by Mr. Kendall to adopt the ordinance. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted.
Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance 030, 2016.
Ordinance number 030, 2016, ordinance accepting the dedication of a right-of-way. This is located along Union Street, has been recommended for approval by the Troy Planning Commission. This is the second reading.
Are there any comments or questions from council?
Move for suspension.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Tremblay and seconded by Mr. Kendall to suspend the rules. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Schweizer and seconded by Mr. Heath to adopt the ordinance. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted.
Mrs. Knight, please read ordinance 031, 2016.
Ordinance number 031, 2016, ordinance accepting the dedication of a right-of-way. This is part of in-lot 6384, located along Staunton Road, has been recommended for approval by the Troy Planning Commission. This is the second reading.
Any comments or questions from council?
Move for suspension. Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Tremblay to suspend the rules. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Move for adoption.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Twist to adopt the ordinance. Mrs. Knight, please call the roll.
Mr. Heath?
Yes.
Mr. Kendall?
Yes.
Mr. Swazer?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Tremblay?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Twist?
Yes.
Mrs. Oda?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
That completes the business of tonight's meeting. Thank you all for attending. Have a safe and peace-filled week. Meeting adjourned.